Will the BRICS, with Iran's support, bury the US currency and permanently alter global trade? Iran's union with the BRICS is the geopolitical nightmare that the West has long feared. Sanctions, their traditional technique, have been used again in a desperate attempt to weaken this growing cooperation. The truth is that they have already lost control of the situation. What Iran is planning behind closed doors will shock the world, and sanctions will fail horribly against it. But what is the plan? Let us find out. Why? Iran's president is on his way to Russia for the impending BRICS conference, causing outrage in Washington, Berlin, and London. They continue to press sanctions as if the world is still under their control. But the reality on the ground is very different. In the most recent geopolitical development, Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian is scheduled to attend the BRICS conference in Kazan, Russia. This summit brings together the major emerging economies of the BRICS, and Iran is now planning to integrate more closely with the group. Western nations, mainly the United States and its European allies, continue to apply sanctions on Iran in an attempt to isolate the country economically. However, Iran's participation in BRICS signals a significant shift in global power dynamics, which the West appears to be unable to manage. Before we can comprehend why Iran has decided to join the BRICS, we need to first address another issue. If sanctions haven't worked for decades, why is the West still pursuing them? The West has become obsessed with sanctions, as if they were the only tool left in their arsenal. Whenever a country deviates from Western goals, economic sanctions are imposed in full force. It is almost reflexive at this stage. Iran is not new to this technique. For decades, sanctions have been used to drive the country to its knees economically, politically, and socially. Yet here we are in 2024, and Iran is not just surviving, but growing, despite the numerous levels of sanctions. But let's get to the main question here. Why does the West continue to pursue an ineffective strategy? The answer lies in desperation. Sanctions were an effective instrument in the 20th century when the West controlled the vast bulk of global trade routes and financial institutions. Today, however, rising economies are discovering ways to avoid these restrictions. BRICS, for example, is a group of countries that are developing new banking systems, opening up new trade lines, and seeking ways to collaborate outside of Western influence. For Iran, sanctions are old news. The country has acquired a form of immunity against them. Iran has learned to adapt and innovate under duress in fields ranging from oil exports to defense. Now that it has joined forces with the BRICS, it has a whole new avenue to grow its economy without requiring the consent of Washington or Brussels. Sanctions are now little more than a symbol of Western discontent. The West's heavy-handed reliance on sanctions reflects its waning power. But what does Iran's participation in BRICS indicate? The BRICS bloc was founded as a reaction to Western dominance in the global economy and politics. For years, countries have felt the stranglehold of Western financial institutions, such as the IMF and the World Bank. These countries sought a method to disrupt the established quo, to create a space where rising economies might operate without being overwhelmed by the economic behemoths of the United States and Europe. Iran's invitation to the BRICS conference marks a significant advance in this power transfer. Sanctions may have hampered Iran's economy, but its geopolitical significance in the international arena has never diminished. Iran has the world's second-largest gas reserves and fourth-largest oil reserves, giving it significant energy power that the West cannot ignore. And while the BRICS countries work to establish a new global economic order, Iran fits perfectly in. The West, of course, is unhappy about this. Washington has been particularly vociferous, with Secretary of State Antony Blinken warning that Iranian-Russian collaboration threatens European security. But what is occurring here? The BRICS nations are establishing a new order in which Western economic dominance is no longer guaranteed. They are forging new alliances, developing alternative financial systems, and laying the basis for a multipolar world in which Western countries are no longer at the center of the universe. Iran's membership in the BRICS is more than just symbolic. It is a tactical maneuver with long-term consequences for world politics and economics. But what does Iran hope to gain from this partnership? Iran has been looking for methods to break free from the economic shackles imposed by Western sanctions for years. BRICS provides Iran with not only an economic lifeline, but also an opportunity to grow on a global scale. Iran is establishing a network of countries devoted to developing alternate trade routes and banking systems by collaborating with Russia, China, and India. Russia and Iran, for example, are already attempting to build trading systems that do not rely on the US dollar, allowing them to conduct business without intervention from Western banks. This type of cooperation is critical for Iran, which has been isolated from major Western banking systems due to sanctions. Iran's collaboration with BRICS opens access to previously blocked markets and investment opportunities. Its strategic position in the Middle East, particularly its control over key trade routes like the Strait of Hormuz, makes it a valuable partner for BRICS, especially China and Russia. Beyond economic relief, Iran can realign with a non-Western world order, reshaping its geopolitical stance. For Russia, BRICS strengthens its ties with Iran, offering an essential partner amidst Western sanctions. Energy cooperation is crucial, as both nations can balance global oil markets and challenge Western-controlled energy systems. Military cooperation consolidates Russia's influence in the Middle East, filling the void left by the US. BRICS also provides a multilateral platform for broader collaboration between Russia and Iran, extending beyond the Middle East. Meanwhile, the West's reliance on sanctions is proving less effective. BRICS members, including Iran, are finding ways to bypass these sanctions, weakening the West's economic grip. Iran's inclusion in BRICS accelerates this shift as the bloc builds alternative trade networks and financial systems. The West's sanctions strategy is losing its impact in a world where emerging economies are establishing new centers of power. Iran's participation in BRICS is a significant geopolitical move, signaling the declining influence of Western-led institutions like the IMF and World Bank. As BRICS expands, the Western economic dominance is increasingly being challenged. Thank you for watching Trees Economy. Please like, share, and subscribe.